Thank you so much for being here.
And it looks like momentarily we'll have more of our audience together. This is a nice rare meeting. I haven't had as like a meeting with so many people I don't regularly see in a very long time. It's so pleasant to share this time. And as more are admitted, we'll give maybe one more minute and then we'll start with our introduction. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our panel discussion today of spiritual care offered in diverse professional and social settings, which we have called Spiritual Care in the Wider World. My name is Shannon Kelly. I'm a third-year Master of Divinity student in Buddhist chaplaincy at University of the West, and today's event is an offering by the third-year spiritual leadership class to our campus community and to the wider concentric communities of all those who are involved with and interested in spiritual care generally. In today's discussion, we're joined by three wonderful panelists whom I'll introduce shortly. Our hope today is to broaden our knowledge base about the settings and context for chaplaincy beyond the realms of healthcare, such as hospital and hospice chaplaincy, which are so often the focus of chaplaincy training. In fact, chaplaincy today is practiced in a wide and growing variety of settings, more than we will even discuss today, including workplaces, disaster scenes, and even colleges and universities. All of these are discussed in preparatory studies at University of the West, but today's discussion represents a special chance to gain firsthand knowledge of present-day work that's being performed in military and correctional or prison facilities and among unhoused populations. I'd like to take a moment on behalf of the team of students behind this panel to thank the administration of UWest, in particular President Minghua Ta, Chief Student Services Officer Vanessa Karam, and Eddie Escalante in the Office of Student Life. Also our chaplaincy faculty, Department Chair Jitsujo Gautier, Professor Victor Gabriel, and especially Professor Daphne McKnight for support and inspiration both to this panel and to our entire academic journey. And I'd like to encourage everyone to tune into more events of US Common Ground observance, of which this panel is a part. Today begins week 2 of the 3-week Common Ground activity. Many of us receive email on this subject, but if you'd like to know more, just check the US website for details. And now before beginning our discussion, I'd just like to invite everyone present to join in grounding silently with a brief meditation to create a threshold for the time that we will spend together. If you'd like, I invite you to take your seat comfortably, assume an upright posture, and with eyes open or closed, whatever fits your practice, take a few good deep breaths, and we'll sit quietly for just a couple of minutes. Thank you. And to begin our discussion today, I'd like to take a moment to introduce our three honored guests and welcome them back also to U West, where each one has played or is still playing an active role. Let's see. First up is, and when I mention your name, you might say hi to people or something, everybody will know who you are. Venerable D. Hong has been a Buddhist monk since 2006 from the Vietnamese and Chinese Pure Land tradition. He was also ordained in the Burmese Theravada tradition of the Mahasaya lineage in 2014. He's one of the co-founders of the Engaged Buddhist Alliance, EBA, and has volunteered in several state prisons in California teaching mindfulness, meditation, and Buddhist psychology since 2013. He's also in charge of EBA's correspondence courses for incarcerated students in other California state prisons, as well as in Washington State and Arizona. He's been an adjunct professor at the University of the West since 2016 with the departments of psychology and general education. Venerable D graduated with an MA in May 2012 and a PhD in Buddhist studies in Chinese Buddhism in May of 2015 from University of the West. He enjoys reading, meditating, and running. Since the pandemic in March 2020, unable to visit the prisons, he's been busy with writing letters, sending books and stamps to the incarcerated individuals. Secondly, we have with us Chaplain Yung Nguyen. Chaplain and Captain Yung Nguyen is a graduate from the U.S. MDiv program. He's a board certified chaplain who has 10 units of CPE, which consists of 6 units in civilian hospitals, 4 units in Army hospital and homeless shelter. He earned his Doctor of Ministry program from Wesley Theological Seminary. Chaplain Nguyen is currently serving at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. He serves as a subject matter expert in Buddhism, supporting other faith chaplains to provide care for Buddhist service members and veterans. Finally with us is Chaplain Arun Sida. Arun is also a graduate of U.S. Buddhist Chaplaincy Program and also received his Doctorate of Theology and Religious Vocations at UWest in 2019. Since 2010, he has served as chaplain, spiritual director, and mindfulness meditation instructor for the U.S. Navy Reserve, where for some time he was the only Buddhist chaplain in the U.S. Navy, and perhaps we should check today to see if this is still true. Additionally, Arun has been a staff chaplain for the U.S. Federal Bureau of Prisons for 5 years. Since 1987, he has also been a mindfulness meditation instructor in the Theravada tradition. So, gentle friends, welcome and thank you again for your participation. Just quick word of procedure. We'll begin today with the discussion among the panelists based on a number of questions that were compiled by the spiritual leadership class. We'll ask some of these and then see whether topics open up to a broader discussion. And about 40 or 45 minutes in, we'll begin taking further questions from the audience. So please feel free to type your question into the chat on this Zoom meeting. And our moderator for that section, Bobby Jian, will read the questions to the panelists as we go. And there's Bobby. Finally, roughly 10 minutes before 2 o'clock, we will close the discussion and this event with the dedication of merit. So friends, this is the thing. I will just ask some questions and we'll see where it leads us. If we find some that fascinate us especially, that's okay. We can just go wherever fate decrees. So thought I would begin with one. And as far as I can see, most of these are directed just to anyone who has an answer. But number one that I've chosen is, should a caregiver become a spiritual leader? And what is the difference between the two? In other words, I think there are maybe 2 different roles that one finds oneself assigned in life. And are they the same? Is the overlap complete to be a spiritual leader and a spiritual caregiver? How does that pronounce itself in your practice? I might begin with Chaplain Nguyen.
So for that, when I'm hearing that question, it reminds me in the Army, when when the commander say that every soldier is a leader. So when I'm hearing that the spiritual caregiver should become a spiritual leader, I believe that spiritual caregiver have the spiritual leader in them. Because when they provide spiritual care for someone, that person also represent themselves with their faith. They carry with them into the patient room with who they are from their faith tradition. And if they don't have something in them, how can they provide care for patient or family members or soldiers? So I believe when a spiritual caregiver is already a spiritual leader, and that's the thing. But when we think about spiritual leader who able to teach, train that are different level, like the commander mentioned that commander is the leader, soldier also leader for themselves. They also how they provide, how they be the example for people around them, how they can help and train people in their life. So for me, when I'm hearing that, should a caregiver become a spiritual leader? I say yes. And the difference is that for spiritual leader, they have more tasks, more roles in helping and caring for others. But the spiritual caregiver is already have the element of spiritual leader. Thank you.
You give me a new angle from which to see that. Venerable D, what is your take on this question?
I have been in a prison setting. And I talk to prisoners in a group or individual basis. And I'm trying to understand, let's say, to be a leader, does that involve running an organization, a nonprofit like mine? So I'm trying to pinpoint to that. But when I look at the chaplains in the prisons who were hired and paid, they only focused on the people of their faith. But for me, let's say if I look at it from a broader context, then it's up to the person if he or she has the proper skill set and is interested, then from being a caregiver, he or she can be a spiritual leader. But it takes training. It takes a lot. I think it takes a lot more effort and energy to be the leader as opposed to a caregiver.
Mm. And Arun, I've come around to you. How do you view this question?
Yes, absolutely. I will say depends. Should a caregiver become spiritual leader? Is depend on a personal, depend on the training qualification of those caregiver. Caregiver have been trained certain qualification to become a caregiver, correct? But for inner of their developing their spiritual path, in order for caregiver to want to become a spiritual leader have a certain training, qualification, and experience to become a spiritual leader. That is a two category. And it's possible, absolutely, it's possible for caregiver to become spiritual leader if those caregiver, for example, a social work or a nurse practitioner or psychologist, also study as, also have been trained as a clergy of each of religions or denominations. Of course, they have a qualification, they have passion about they will be able to reach the spiritual leader. In overall, for me, it's kind of a broad answer, but I will answer yes or no, depends on spiritual interest, depend on their compassion. If they really want to be, yeah, they can be. Everything is possible, but of course it takes time. And the definition of leader for me, it's just the leader is the person who have influence to people, support other people around them. Yeah, that pretty much for this question. Thank you.
Thank you. It strikes me, it's very interesting in the array of answers that there's a difference between maybe the kind of leadership that we present very frontally, and then the kind that comes up quietly that a client may depend upon, but it's not being foregrounded as leadership. It's simply a support to the client somehow. A second question has to do with roles again. I guess it's with, I think both with unhoused clients and with clients, let's say in a prison setting, and if this applies in a military setting, sure, but is it difficult to walk a line between offering spiritual support and intervening in, on the other hand, personal problems or social justice problems that someone may be experiencing, administrative social justice problems, let's say? And is there a difference between offering material support of that kind and offering spiritual support? Is that a line that has to be drawn at times, or how do we view that line? Venerable D.
That's a tough question. For the prison population, because we as volunteers, we have been told to say, just focus on what you have to offer, spiritual support, and that's it. We cannot get involved in any social justice. I mean, if you look at last year's protest regarding to BLM, I thought about getting involved, but then my status as a volunteer, if I'm were to be out there to protest, but if the prison knew about it, they would put me on notice. So I would say just focus on the spiritual support. However, because of my line of work, a lot of the men and women, they have to prepare for parole. So that takes much more effort. And they ask me, because in order to prepare for parole, you have to understand why you committed the crime, just for these people, and how you have been training and how you're going to be ready. So I took on another role as to help these people how to prepare for parole and how to answer questions that would be considered proper in order to be considered parole. So that's another thing. It's not about social justice.
Arun, how does that square with your experience? Like,
Yes, for prison chaplains, I'm also agree with Venerable that we draw the line pretty clear. My job or duty is to take care of inmates spiritually and religious support. We do accommodation for all religions. We make sure all religions have been able to practice on the religious associate with. And then for the other topic related social justice and so on and so forth, is we refer them to case manager, to psychologist, or to somebody else. But we always have, it's just a very, very, very depend on the chaplain too, because this portion is your It came out from your compassion. If you have a compassionate ear to listen, you can listen to them, to let them get the what opinion in their heart, allow them to talk about that. But we kind of, yeah, I have no comment on that things, but I will willing to listen to you. That's kind of portion. But for if any detail they want your opinion, recommendation is, I have no opinion on that. But on the spiritual side, we fully support them on that one.
My mind, I really wonder whether the same structures and the same assumptions come into play with relation to unhoused populations that are living outside of institutions and without, you know, even the scrutiny of many people. And then here is the spiritual care provider. Jung, are you able to speak to that a little bit about about maintaining this balance or drawing that line?
Yes, I have experience working with the homeless population and house clients at Haven for Hope. I believe some of you may heard that center at in San Antonio, Texas, for 6 months, and I was there, and it's very hard. Spent almost every day listening to their struggles, and something very unjust about their life, about why they ended up in the homeless shelters. There are a variety of stories, and it's very hard to listen to them. And when I'm hearing that, my intervention during that time is just offer my listening ear and validate what they've been through and helping them. And for some situation, I may address that to the staff, because at the center, they have the staff with different functions that can help clients to find the right resources for them, or to find the house or the shelter for them. So for that, I can advocate for clients. And that's the only thing I can do to help unhoused clients. So for me, that only be there and provide spiritual care. And one thing I learned from that it helps a lot to offer listening ears to them and be with them and treat them like others. Because for unhoused clients, they live in that environment. It seems like no one pay attention to them. And many stay there for months and they lose their humanity. They don't, because people yell, people shout, people, because in the courtyard, the people, about more than 1,000 people stay there. And they all kind of things in there. And they stay there for months. It becomes something, they become one of them. And they don't need someone to listen to. They just need someone to hear their story and let them pour out what's happening in their life. And that helped them tremendously. And I that's my experience. And if something related to something I cannot help from spiritual perspective, then I may ask the staff for the resources to provide for them. Thank you.
Shani, can I add a little bit?
Yes.
Just one thing. You guys might want to look into restorative justice as opposed to social justice. That's something for you guys as STEMDiff to look into.
As a distinction. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, is it worth saying a sentence or two about the importance to this discussion?
Well, with regard to restorative justice, it involves the victim, right? You have the crime, you have the offender, and then you also have to consider the harm or the damage done on the victim. So even for us, we have to take that into consideration as spiritual caregivers to the incarcerated population. We also have to look on the other side as well as the victim who suffer the consequences of their actions. Yeah. But that is something worth to look into for future conversation.
Thank you. Yes, I brought in there. Just want to ask a very general question this time, but a few of the students in our class were sort of interested in a theme like this. Maybe the favorite thing that has occurred or occurs from time to time in your present work, your present service, the favorite kind of thing, a good thing that may happen, or the especially difficult thing that is the greatest challenge that you face either recurrently, or if there's one particular story about the most difficult thing. Either one of those would be really kind of illuminating, I think, for any of us.
Okay, if I may go first, this is one thing that I want to share with you guys. And also, I think I might have said it before in my prior talks with people. One of the most challenging as Buddhist chaplains, just so you guys know, is that Reverend Arun, he works for the federal government. The federal government recognizes Buddhism as a religion. That's why they hire Buddhist chaplains with pay. The state of California does not recognize Buddhism as a religion. That's why we have to go in as volunteers. And with all the 50 states that we have, only the state of Oregon that I know recognizes Buddhism as a religion, and they hire Buddhist chaplains with pay to work inside the prison. And that helped a lot. So, I mean, my point is, we have to get the California legislator to come up with a bill to recognize Buddhism as a religion. Otherwise, the prisons will never hire Buddhist chaplains. We can train tons of Buddhist chaplains, but they are not going to be able to find work. So that's the one thing that I think you guys need to recognize, that you can, hey, I'm going to get into this field, but where can I find pay work? I have not been paid for the past 8 years, just so you guys know. So that's the most challenging thing that we need to recognize, even as educators, as Buddhist leaders. So that's one thing. On the other hand, the favorite moment, or I have quite a few, I have a lot of folks inside the prison that they are able to connect with their family members at home, just because their family members at home, they have taken on yoga or meditation. So that helps foster the conversations. And what helps more is that they are able to apply the Buddha's teaching, the stress, and with the meditation practice, and how to deal with it, how to manage it to the point where they're able to get through, especially in the past year with the pandemic. I have a couple newsletters. If you guys are interested, I can email it to Shannon and he can share it with the group. But that's what I have.
Thank you, Venerable Dihong. One of our participants actually had a follow-up question to that. In your experience, what is the process to change this policy in California?
Well, to get the state House, representative to introduce a bill that get passed with the Senate and then signed by the governor, that's the best way. Otherwise, like, I would have to sue California state prisons. That's going to involve so much money, and that's going to take years. And actually, they were sued before I started. They were sued by another faith group, but then the women were released, so they dropped the case. So the only way is to get the politicians to put up a bill and get it passed, signed by the governor. And don't forget, this is not just the prisons, right? Public universities, public hospitals, any public institutions, they would be required to hire a Buddhist chaplain to serve the population. Otherwise, forget it. You guys will all have to to volunteer. And if you look at it from a Buddha perspective, in a way, it's kind of like, this is kind of like suppression, so systemic suppression.
Any success stories on the American scene in another state government, or that someone has seen this kind of challenge through successfully?
No, not that I know of. No.
Yeah. So That's heavy.
It is heavy. It's a big deal. That's why I have been talking to the Vietnamese Buddhist communities because they're huge, right? And I have not spoken to the Chinese communities, but this is a big issue, and we don't think about it. If you guys look at it for this way, who could afford to go into a retreat? Who could afford to go to a meditation center? And they all cost money. The folks down here at the bottom, the poor, the people of color, they couldn't afford it. They don't know about it. And that's why they get into trouble. And guess what? They don't even get help. And here you only have the elite who could afford to go into retreat, to learn meditation. You know. So that's my gripe about not just the government, but also Buddhist leaders who this is an oversight problem, but they don't see.
Well, for Arun and Jung, I want to invite any response you may have to this question about the structural imbalance, or just to invite the same original question about favorite things or challenging things. Jung, would you like to take a shot at that?
Sure. Well, working in the hospital setting, that I believe that many of you, if you've done CBE or spend time at a hospital to provide care for patients, and I believe you experienced that also. For me, that as a Buddhist chaplain, and in the population, majority of them Christian Catholics, and when I got into the room, I introduced myself. I'm chaplain. I didn't say anything. I don't say I'm Buddhist or Christian chaplain. And they share a lot about what they've been through, the struggle, and the most rewarding that when they share about their faith, how their faith, regardless, even atheists, I go into that, and how their faith or no faith help them find a meaning in their struggle. And that moment, I feel so, I'm learned something from those moments because it helped me look back into my own life and how my faith going to help me when I have those difficulties or most struggles in my life. And that's the most rewarding experience I have. The challenging, I have one experience, and I believe that also in the future, when they asked me to accept Jesus as the Savior, my first experience, that my first unit of CBE, I found myself in the awkward situation, and I repeated 3 times. And while I repeated that, in my mind, visualized Amitabha Buddha. And that moment, I learned something, that the boundaries, the respect. And from that time on, I learned, I share with them and respect their faith. And when someone mentioned that, I say, I respect your faith and please respect mine. And that's the thing I'm learning from that experience. So I share that with you. I believe you all, some of you will go into that field and will experience that in your ministry. Thank you.
Now, I'm so curious about that experience, and it makes me want to ask whether going forward from such an exchange, is it possible then to realize an effective delivery of spiritual care to the person? They will still be receptive and you come to understand each other?
Yes, because when you set the boundaries, you respect them, and still they respect you back. And for some, they're so conservative, they say no, then I'm okay with that. That's also the nature of the work. When you offer their care, offer your ministry, offer care, and they don't accept it, it's okay. We just say, may you be well. And then excuse yourself out of the room. But that's the nature. But usually when you respect, if you root your faith in Buddhist tradition, you will find yourself in those situations. You will find your growth a lot in those situations. And if you still struggle in your Buddhist practice Buddhist faith, and you will find yourself struggle in those situations. That's my learning. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. Arun, how does this land with you, this theme?
It's very, first of all, thank you very much, Venerable Holmes. You do just a great job, and like your dedication for our community. Deeply appreciate what you have been done. Yeah, for the law and everything we consider as a groundbreaking chaplains in the field right now. We don't have many chaplain, Buddhist chaplain actually in the field. And in order for us to change rules and regulation, it's a process to start it, but it's great to mention that, and then we're gonna go harmoniously and peacefully go through the process, so we can allow to ask the state of California to recognize that yeah, but along the way we will meet with people and we find a way. Thank you for appreciate that for your hard work. For me, I will say the most for the challenge, probably a similarity with Venerable, is one thing that we challenge ourselves, be a first a Buddhist chaplain for some sense, and you don't have people who understand you the way you are, conservative temple people. Oh, why you leave the temple? Why you go there over there? You know, sincere to become a bodhisattva, or you want to be a monk anymore. It's very it's a process that we have to educate, understand it, and communicate. Have a great work together. It feels like a lonely work. You are by yourself, nobody much to understand what you're doing. And at the same time, you have to set a new ground, set your boundary, and let them know pretty much like you are by yourself, and you be a subject matter expert for a Buddhist. For your whole, for example, I'm the only 2 Buddhist chaplain in Federal Bureau of Prisons for the country. So it's a kind of big, a heavy responsibility in that a sense of we have some kind of support, but we don't have organized and a very strong systems who support those chaplains in the front line. That's kind of a challenge that we have right now. And to let people know who we are, and that's important, and what we believe in. And to a second question, what is rewarded? I'll per se that go back to my personal belief that, and go back to the one thing in the sutra. I say, go forward a monk for welfare of many, for happiness of many, out of compassion for the world, for good, benefit, and happiness of devas and men. And then skip a couple words, and the two should not take the same path. Take the Dhamma, which is excellent in the beginning, excellent in the middle, and excellent at the end, both spiritual and letter. Proclaim the holy life, perfect and pure. This is kind of it brings me back as a supported what I'm going, what I'm doing. That's one thing that I think the highlight of my work is be able to show the truth, basically the nature of Four Noble Truth to people, and help support them when, for those who are Buddhists, I'm really happy to help them unlock whatever they lock it in, and help them grow in the way at a Buddhist practice. For those who are not Buddhists, at a chaplain, spiritual care plan, which is I call spiritual care plan. I help them grow in spiritual, which is the model I'm use of Four Noble Truth. But instead of say Four Noble Truth to help them spiritual growth, regardless of religion, I have the motto is called like a 5-step for spiritual growth. The first one, we help them identify, recognize what the pain, what stress they have mentally. And the second, we looking for help them to recognize obstacle. And when they have obstacle, they have a hard time, allow them to accept those. And the third one is kind of allow them to evaluate and help them to see what resources or support system they might have. And the last one is see how much is the value, the goal that's mean to them. It's kind of 4-step. And the last one is kind of added on is allow people to reassess the goal, the plan. Every quarter, every year, it's kind of live learning experience. This one thing that this is very, I think this is very highlight and make it very, it's make me so happy that I able to help them, especially in the Navy now for Warrior Transition Program and the Navy. Why we have a mindfulness meditation to put it in curriculums, and also in Federal Bureau of Prison, I just introduced very small portion of mindfulness meditation into the system, and hopefully can help inmate staff and general public. That I think if that highlight, I can help people from my little ability that I have.
It's fascinating.
If I may add, since we have 2 military chaplains, if you go to California state prisons, almost every state prison has 1, 2, or more than 2 vets in the prison system. The reason that I know is because they reach out to me as soon as they heard about Buddhist services. They came, and and these are folks from their 30s to their 70s, from the Vietnam era. So we have a serious issue with the military, the folks returning from the military, and again, they don't need to receive help even inside the state prisons.
For that, not only during for Vietnam vets, but also recently for current active or just recently for someone get out of the military. Also, the meditation is so effective. I have a chance to introduce Buddhist meditation based on the 16 steps to the military chaplains at my work, and some they use that to guide their patients or veterans or retirees, and that chaplain come back and share with me about how effective meditation they introduced to the life of those people. And I myself went up to the psych unit, and inside unit also for active duties, for a spouse, they learn from that thing. So it's very effective in the life of those people. And that's one thing. And also the teaching the Four Noble Truths, they're so interesting. Sometimes we talk about that all the time. It becomes something very simple, and sometimes we disregard that basic teaching. But remember that in the work of the military, for me, I talk myself in the hospital or talking to patients or talking to military or soldiers, the Four Noble Truths is so important in their activities. If we know the essence of the Four Noble Truths, like Reverend Arun also mentioned, we can help them and guide them to get out of their struggle, their issues.
Do you want me to add a little bit, or it's all right?
Surely, yeah.
Okay, here we have in Federal Bureau of Prison, we have a program it's called Veterans Program, Re-entry Program. That's for inmate who has been like who are veterans and be in the prison system. So some in general we have some program for them, but Yeah, some is better than others based on resource availables, people available on, and I mean resources available for them. So
So good to know. There was a question very interesting to me from one of the students in our class that had to do with the client, and I think it's a question about the differences between offering spiritual support to for instance, to an inmate of a correctional facility, or to a homeless person, or to a soldier sailor. What are the common things that are just true about offering spiritual support anywhere that you go? And what maybe distinctions have emerged about that spiritual care needs to be tailored and is maybe in some way profoundly different in a different setting? Something maybe that the setting taught you as a spiritual caregiver that might or might not have already emerged in your previous training. There might be a lot of agreement on this or a lot of divergence, I wonder. How about Arun, what is your first thought about that?
yes, for me, I would per se, as a spiritual care provider, right? Spiritual care, spiritual leader, as a chaplain, basically as a chaplain, everywhere I go, I offer spiritual support. For example, exactly what is spiritual support for them, regardless of religions. And we go back, try to take the label you put it on the top, is make very simple. People is people, human being. What the source of stress? What sort of pain and distress that create inside of them? And then the spiritual support, the first things that I help them evaluate, help them assess, like it's called spiritual assessment, which is I adapt from Four Noble Truth. The first one, what's your goal? What's your value? What you're looking for in this lifetime? And I'm sitting there as if they are Christian, they are other religions, they're atheists, we'll sit there and ask, what is the purpose? What purpose of life? What is the most important to you? What is your value? And then they will answer. And then the following question is, because you're not hit your value, that's what make you pain. What's obstacle? The following what the question is, what's obstacle? What make you're not really reach your goal? You're not happy as you want. What's obstacle? And then we, after they be able to identify obstacle, accept any imperfection of people, right, from themselves, and then allow them to go move forward to identify their own resource system. Who can help you with that? And okay, I can help advocate for that. This is resources we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, what do you think about that? And then let's see, after you go through this process, and the last one is how the value mean to you, how much you think you are the best person that you want, how many percent? Just tell me, 10, 20 is fine. No right or wrong answer, but we want to know where you're at right now. So next week I come back to you, I can help you get better. You need the Bible, I bring Bible to you. And let's make you more, what's is important to you and how much you are. Yeah, and then we go there. This kind of process to help both social, homeless, shelter, and hospital do the same process. But for me, inside of myself, I think this is most important. For one thing is I see all people the same for original. And then on top of that, very important, because military have their line, have the regulations that we have to follow. Okay, whatever you told me is secret, 100% confidentially, for example. Okay, but for homeless, it might not that, because if you serve for the homeless, not identity as a chaplain from military, You serve as a chaplain. For example, I'm a chaplain in military and prison. In prison, I don't get the absolute confidentiality to protect me. If somebody inmate say I gotta bomb the things, I have a mandate to tell the warden what can happen. I have to let them know ahead of time. This is kind of things that we have a different role and regulation. But other than that, from the bottom, the heart, Four Noble Truths, Brahma Vihara, that's all the same. No matter what happened in the life, so go back to the normal, to the group, to the ground, and then to that kind of core value, and then moving forward. That's from mine.
That's really reassuring. Yung, let me turn it over to you just to get your first response to this question about similarity and difference, based on their settings.
Yeah, I see that. I see also the differences in the way provide spiritual support to two settings, either army soldiers or the unhoused clients. If we know the Maslow, the hierarchy needs, for homeless, for unhoused clients, they don't have enough food. They don't have the shelter they place. That's different with soldiers. Soldiers, they have place, they have food, they have everything. But for unhoused clients, it's so different. That's the culture they live in. The second about the trust. For unhoused clients, they don't trust. They also request confidentiality. I have encountered one situation when I sit down with one client, that client had to look around because that client afraid that people hear the story he going to tell or she going to tell. Yeah. Because the trust live in the big crowded and unsafe and not easy for them to keep privacy. So that's the need. And for soldiers, it's different stories. The soldier come to the chaplain when they have an issue with marital issue, when they have issue with at work, when they have issue with finance, when they have an issue with a girlfriend or boyfriend, or some, not a lot, they come with the issue with their religious struggle. For in-house clients, they're different. They just want the humanity connection. And because they live in the environment that they don't have someone to connect to, they're afraid, they distrust. So the chaplain provide the care, even the same. We also provide listening skill. We offer compassion, we offer empathy. In both settings, we also offer those similar things. But for the way we provide care for unhoused clients and the way we provide care for soldiers is different. The first thing we have to build the trust with unhoused clients because they don't know who you are. And they don't know if they all offer their personal stories about how they end up in the homeless shelter and what the broken relationship, how they miss their kids and they cannot go back to be with them. And it's not easy. And some commit suicide in their life. So they have to, first of all, the chaplain have to build trust first. In the military setting, you are already the chaplain. You have the power, you have the authority. The soldiers listen to you regardless. But at the homeless shelter, you have to build trust because you have the power, you have authority, but they don't trust you. Yeah. So that's the thing I have to build trust and listen to them and just day by day and until the time they open to share. But for the army, the chain of command say, hey, go to see chaplain, and they go to see chaplain regardless of, if they want to know. So that's the different ways I see it. But the skill set we're going to use is the similar thing. It's all because we carry into different settings with all we have, with all the tools we have, all the brown bags we have. From the Buddhist background, from counseling skill set, we all have that when we encounter people, true population. But the setting also determine how we use skillful means in the way we approach to different setting, different population.
Absolutely. Thank you. Venerable, I want to give it to you for this this question. What have you been thinking about that theme? Venerable,
I agree with the two chaplains. You know, I do the basic, the training of the awareness and the suffering. But just so you guys know, I have been working with a group of ex-lifers, meaning people who have been out for some 20, 30 years. I meditate with them every Sunday morning. And also working with 3 or 4 people with depression. It takes so much, it takes a lot of patience, and I'm not complaining, and without judging, like, hey, you know, what's wrong with you? We can't say that. But here's the one thing with the First Noble Truth, and I think we all know that those are the dukkhas that the Buddha listed. Those are the fundamental, right? And this is what I teach inside my Buddhist psychology. On top of that, people who committed crimes and who get into prison, it was because they suffer abuse from home, sexually, physically, emotionally, gang affiliation. That's another layer of suffering that we need to recognize, especially for you guys as chaplains training. And like with the folks in the military, they suffer some form of PTSD. That's what they did that get sent them into prison. So each person basically has 3 or 4 layers of suffering that they didn't even know. That's why they behave how they behave. And that's why they led to, you know, substance abuse that led them to being unhoused. So these are the different issues. And yeah, we have to kind of cater it or like offering different types of questions or statements or the Buddha's teaching with the different types of, for the different types of need.
Thank you. Thank you. We've come to the point I promised that we were going to start to field any questions that the audience might have brought. And I think, Bobby, you have something lined up already.
Yeah, so my first question is actually directed for Chaplain Arun. And I have it right here. Chaplain Arun, were you hired to be a prison chaplain because you are Buddhist? And what were the job requirements to be a federal chaplain?
I'm not hiring because because I'm a Buddhist chaplain. I'm got hired because I made qualification requirement, which is similar to military. You have the MDiv program. You have some year of experience and yeah, and you apply for it. Very simple. Yes.
Thank you.
Or it's more, you can apply it toward usajob.gov, usajob.gov. That's for free. We have some open chaplain right now too.
Thank you, Chaplain Arun. And I have a second question. This one is actually for all 3. You can now take a moment to reflect and then just share your responses one by one. What themes from the MDiv program did you find helpful in the field?
I can say, I can go first, all right? I think all of them is helpful. And all of what we train in, I would say what I learned from US is very, very helpful. I have been a monk for, I have been in the temple for 24 years, nine years as a novice and another 12 years as almost 15 years as a monk. That's very, I have been trained in the things already, but that's like we lack of I'm still lack of a lot of training culture and every other aspect that I should know. But for now, I think that I mean, look back, I see that curriculum of the University of the West right now very perfect fit in to the quality. But the one things that we should we might consider added in to a little bit is kind of experience to go out work with. For example, if you guys want to come to volunteer or to see my work at present, I would love to have you guys here to you can gain those a little bit of experience, and then that will be completely perfect. Our program is great. I just that's all I want to say.
Thank you.
For me, that what I learned, I forgot all. Honestly, graduated 2014, and I did. Right now, if you ask me about what I'm studying, back there, I may know some courses like ritual under Professor Victor, or spiritual care counseling under Reverend Danny Fisher, and that's all I remember. But when I look at back about, I reflect upon what the way I provide care. Actually, like I will mention that yes, the program at the US built the foundation for me. And one thing I encourage that, yes, the skill set, the counseling skill and everything you can learn during the CBE. But one thing about that, your Buddhist foundation. If you don't have the foundation in the Buddhist teachings, sometimes the way people, they challenge you. The different faiths, different chaplains from different faiths, they keep asking you, and if you're not strong in that foundation, you may answer wrongly, and they challenge you. And with the foundation in the Buddhist teachings, you're also able to provide care for people from different faith traditions. If you don't root yourself into Buddhist teaching and foundation, it's very hard for you to engage with people in different faiths. So yes, you learn all things in the school, but make sure that also have the background, the foundation in the Buddhist teachings. And the Four Noble Truths is so important.
Thank you, Chaplain Nguyen. Venerable Di Huang.
I wasn't trained in the MDiv program, I'm sorry, so I can't say much about it. I was trained in the Buddhist study in the PhD program, but I would say I agree with the chaplains. You know, my training as a monk, all the things that we do, I listen to people's problems almost on a daily basis. Even now, people texting me through Facebook. So that kind of got me into, that helped me in when I first started in the prison, and I wasn't trained for it, but somehow I picked up. And here's the other thing that I picked up is that because I was emotionally and physically abused at home, so I was able to understand the language that they speak, and I was able to speak at their level as well.
Thank you, Venerable Di Huang. All right, I have a third question also for all three panelists. How can MDiv and Doctor of Theology ministry programs better prepare and support non-healthcare chaplain? And I'll also post this on the chat. You can reflect on this for a moment and share your thoughts. Thank you.
I believe that the Doctor of Theology, Doctor of Ministry, that's kind of advanced. when I read the bio of many chaplains, even the higher ranks in the army, they don't have the doctor of ministry. The MDiv is required for all the works, and what they learn from their faith, and from every day meeting, they all talk about their faith. So for me, that the MDiv program equip you the knowledge and skill sets and the seed of how to engage in the pluralistic environments. You are trained in the Buddhist setting, but that training helped you to engage with the pluralistic environment with different faith people and no faith. And in the army, about 600 and 700 soldiers, only 2 are Buddhist. And the majority of your work is provide care for people who are not Buddhist. So the work at the MDiv build you the foundation to engage with that setting. And the MDiv, if you learn from Buddhist teachings, you can use that for your reflection. I believe MDiv is more help you about more self-reflection. And in the work of non-healthcare setting, in the military, even healthcare setting, reflection is so important. And even you have the strong foundation in Buddhism. The second element is that the reflection, you know how to do reflection, action, that's the model of the CBE, but also that's the model of the Buddhist teaching in your practice. So I believe with that, it will help you and equip you the foundation of in different settings, even non-healthcare or healthcare settings.
Thank you, Chaplain Lin.
I'm fascinated by that question, whether there's something the school could do, as well as an MDiv program can prepare one for the wider world as we've theorized and framed it. What might we be doing any better? Now, when you consider the path that you've taken, is there any preparation that the field might be giving to future chaplains that would set them at a higher place to begin their service?
Yeah, I would like to respond to this question. Is basically we need to help create a tool. It like prepare them, for example, like a manual for Buddhist chaplains, like a standardized manual for a Buddhist chaplain, regardless of military setting, hospital setting, or some kind of prayer, some kind of preparation, and some kind of meditation tool. Even if you're not in the first couple year of your work, you're probably not confident, or sometimes you don't have time. You should have some kind of tool in a CD or like a workbook for a Buddhist chaplains that can use it right away. That could be some project that we can coordinate between, have a student start work during the MDiv program. I think that's probably one thing that I think about right now. And the most important is the other one is kind of evidence-based research. Everywhere you go, you need to be able to provide to see before and after the difference, by allow people to say, to recognize, but need to be recorded. If you're not recorded, it means doesn't happen. I know for a real world, right? For in a Dharma world, probably karma is already there, but you don't have it and to present is kind of not things that happen. But yeah, that's all two things that I would like to mention. Thank you.
But Dihong, I'm about this question. I just found it fascinating a few moments ago to hear you mention your adjacency to chaplains who came up through a different system of training than you. And so as you observe the work that they do, I wonder how you assess the status of chaplaincy sort of in your sector, how people are performing and how supported they are.
I think perhaps Victor and Chitsuso can get together and some of the faculty and see how else they can look at the courses that they offer and how they can adapt or make it an elective for people who would have an interest in fields other than the hospital, because prison, there's a need for folks in the prison. And don't forget, it's not just folks inside the prison. They come out, they need help, and also their family. And where is this population from? The poor neighborhoods, right? And there is 30–40% of our population who are living under poverty. So like, how can we offer or train the chaplains, specifically, not just Buddhist chaplains, but chaplains as a whole, how, the prison, right? Social services, and or high school, so how do we prepare the chaplains that will be able to go into different fields? It's not just the hospitals, and those are limited. I'm sorry. You get more out here, and also the people of color. You also want to be able to train them to be very sensitive to their culture. Latinos, Asian, and we Asian, they are like 20–30 different countries. So like, how do you adapt them to be sensitive to the need of these people? So I think this is something that the department itself can explore.
Thank you for your insight. That's a very distinct reminder that chaplain work isn't just limited to military and healthcare, and that there are so many other ways to use this in life. And this brings us to our final question of the day. This question is about burnout. Does the caregiver provide more and broader services mean that we must sacrifice ourselves? How do we avoid burnout?
I'll go first because I don't have burnout after 8 years, even though I'm not paid. And I still do work 7 days a week. So it's a matter of motivation. For lay people, they need it to get paid. And if they run into, and it's because it's that they need to get paid, is a matter of the stress that they have to deal with, with the spouse, with other obligations. For me, my obligation is myself, my practice, and the folks that I work with. So far, I used to be in software, and I did get burnout. But for me, even as of today, 0. It's a matter of my motivation and my intention. So I don't have any of that.
For me, that in every work, as a spiritual caregiver, we somehow, sooner or later, we experience burnout. Think of the way that we listen to the stories every day. Not only one patient or one in-house client, we have sometimes 7, 8, 10, and every day. And when we consume those energy in us, and it's not easy to get untouched by those stories, those feelings. It's still there in us, in our mind, in our physical body. One thing to learn that from my experience that I'm talking about myself, that about the boundaries. We have to set the boundaries, and we don't do over functioning. Sometimes we forget, We believe that with the caregiver, our calling is to serve, and we serve living beings is equivalent to serve Buddhas, because we have that concept in mind, and we keep serving, and we don't know how to say no, and that creates burnout. And when we experience burnout, we don't want to see anyone at all. So one thing that we have to see that, yes, I have the boundaries with my function. Yes, we have the compassion, we have empathy, but how we can set the boundaries in the work we have. So for me, that's the way to help me avoid burnout. Also self-care. I did my doctor of ministry in military chaplain. And many military chaplains, they burn out. They don't know how to do self-care. They don't. Because they believe that they serve him, and they respond to God, and they serve. But we still have the human body, and it impacts on the health. And some, they also experience struggle with the health issue. We can do all things, but end of the day, that's all we can do. So have to set the boundaries and stop over functioning. That's the way I experienced with myself. When I did one at the UCLA resident, I didn't want to see patient at all. And so early, I spent most of the time in the morning at the botanical garden. And I was there and to do self-care and to get away from that. And at that time, I come back to see patient. And when I came back to see patient, I didn't want to see them. So I had the last unit or the third unit of CBE. I had that experience, and I stopped. I spend more time for myself. And at that time, I see how productive of my work to provide care for them if I set the boundaries for that. Thank you.
I just want to add that I do self-care. I do take care of myself. I nap a couple of times a day as I get my stuff through. Just so you guys know, I do take care of myself.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to hear that you take care of yourself, Venerable. And I think it's burnout. What the question again? The question is how to get away from burnout, correct? Yeah, I do experience the burnout. Almost get into, it's called I would call it compassionate fatigue, because I feel like I'm not about to not care about the inmate anymore. Like, wow, I'm not care them as I used to care. I said, it's kind of a tricky sign. That's what happened to me. Basically, what I do is a difference. What I serve difference. Why I need to, why I feel like this. And it's kind of the hint that's come to me, and then I take care of myself. I go for a 1-day retreat, 2-day retreat, be with myself, walk in the wood, and go back to reflect. Try to define basically a course of spiritual assessment. I do it every day for myself, and then another one that we do all the time that help me to prevent, not just reduce, but prevent my burnout is, I think, be aware of what actually that happened. It's how be aware, help identifying what happened right now, and then an assessment where I'm at. So I get quickly serve myself. Oh, I feel like, but the body cannot handle anymore. The feeling is not right. Just go back to take a break and allow myself to take it's like a month break or long-term retreat or something like that. It's kind of helping. That's one thing that everybody is, don't run yourself like a machine, like a robot. You still have mind, body, so it needs to be balanced. And It's come to the middle of the middle path, right? That's what I can say. All right, thank you.
All right. That concludes all the questions I received from the audience. And now hand it back to Shannon.
Yeah, it just remains to say thanks to everybody for contributing questions and to the panelists for these thoughtful answers and like such a beautiful vision of service that I think many of us have been craving to know more about. Some experiences that we haven't had and may find ourselves moving toward very shortly. So it's such a generosity of you to spend this time with us today. Thank you so much. Just want to now turn it over to Venerable Chen, who's agreed to close out for us with a dedication of merit.
Okay, so can you hear me? Yeah. So thank you all the panelists provide this deep and profound discussion for us. So now we offer the merit to all living beings. So please join your palms. 愿以此功德，庄严佛净土，上报四重恩，下济三途苦。若有见闻者，悉发菩提心。 仅此一报身，同生极乐国。May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Thank you.
Thank you, Venerable. And again, thanks to all our friends. We wish everyone a safe and a beautiful remainder of your day. And we hope that we will find many opportunities to be together again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.